As part of the centenary celebrations for this year's CrowdStrike 24 Hours of Spa, we're looking back at how the 24 Hours has evolved over the years. Tomorrow morning, there is going to be a chance to have a look at touring car action with cars from the 70s up to the 90s. Today and tomorrow, a chance to celebrate the GT era of the 24 Hours of Spa. Welcome everybody to the first Endurance Racing Legends event of the weekend. David Addison, John Watson, rose-tinted spectacles, nostalgia. We're all here trackside looking forward to a 40-minute race which has a mandatory pit stop and a quite superb entry. Superb in terms of some of the drivers, superb most definitely in terms of the cars, and superb, John, because of the sound. There are some awesome machines on this grid.
Well, talk about all that, but talk about what's on the screen. Track temperature 52 Celsius, humidity down to a reasonably level, sort of 54 degrees. But that is a mighty hot track. There is the Panos sitting in pole position. It has thundered its way around this racetrack in practice, and as every lap looked to be getting quicker and quicker and quicker. And what a piece of kit this Panos is.
It's going to be started by Olivier Galland, second on the grid. That's the car that's going to be on the outside of the front row. Sam Hancock starting in Alexander Rittweger's Maserati MC12. I need to peer in the car. The team told me it was going to be Sam Hancock to start, and I'm pretty sure that is Sam Hancock.
I think it is.
It is indeed. Big BRDC badge on his overall, so Sam Hancock will go first in that. 125, Peter Cox, soloist in the Lamborghini. A car that he's been reunited with from the FIA GT1 World Championship era.
If you're a gambling man, and that's sort of a subject we shouldn't really discuss gambling because of all the political implications, but Peter Cox in that Lamborghini, I think over a 40-minute stint, could be a really useful bet.
I think you're absolutely right. Absolutely. One Porsche going down the pit lane. There, number 14, Evgeny Kiriv, the racer, rallier, and very successful businessman. There's a gap next to him, which makes me think that the Hezemans Lotus ain't going to start. It missed Q2, and I couldn't find it in the paddock, so I think that's not going to start. But Evgeny Kiriv tangled with Sam Hancock, but both cars on the grid.
Yes, we saw that live. I'm not aware that any action was taken against either driver. It was going to be looked at. I think it was just put down to a misunderstanding between two competitors who both thought that they had the right to the entry into the chicane, and 2-1 doesn't go. And light damage to the Vodafone-sponsored Maserati, and probably just more indignity to Sam Hancock and his beautiful, look at that stunning turquoise and black Maserati.
There are GT cars here stretching to almost the present day with the Bentley GT3 and going back to the early BPR days, and you'll see one or two of the Porsches looking remarkably small in comparison with a GT car of the time. The white Corvette there, Andrew Jordan to start in the car that's owned by Matt Home. Gap where the Hezemans Lotus should have been, Evgeny Kiriv's Maserati. Go back, Adrian Wilmot and Jonathan Mitchell's Ferrari. Then the number 50 Porsche, Stefan Reutmeier starting, and then being waved into view there is the Audi, the ex-Rosberg team car of Johnny Westbrook, that's driven by Vasily Vladikin, who will start, and Andrei Solokovtsev behind that. 24 is going to be the Nick Maton, Jack Tetley car, that the Lamborghini that Nick Maton, I think, is going to start. Although that stopped in the qualifying session, it's there on the grid. Then there's Jonathan Mitchell aboard number 57 Ferrari. You can see the great variety. Porsche, BMW Z4, Ford GT1. There's the BMW Richard Mines car from the Vita 4-1 stable. A car that Michael Bartel's team ran in period within the early days of the Blancpain Endurance Series. Yeah,
it's just, I was looking at the drone shot of the pit, of the grid, and it struck me as looking, I know that line, that white line is not actually, that's more like a shadow, but it's not that desperately wide. No. And even these GT cars from period from 1990 onwards, most of them are not anything like the size of our current GT3 car. And 2-1 sometimes. And we had an incident here last weekend at the British GT round coming off La Source, where two cars got together and went off pretty rapidly into the barriers on the left-hand side of the track, did a lot of damage to the barriers, took a long time to get that replaced, repaired. It's a view I've never seen previously. And it made me realize that I thought that was a very wide part of the racetrack, but that view from the drone illustrates it's not as wide as you might feel if you're on at ground level.
Philip Skemama's Ford GT you just caught a glimpse of on the grid, that car that used to be raced by Bas Linders and Mark Henrici, again from the FIA GT1 World Championship days. Number 112 there, the Viper of Eric Mestach, that had a problem just before the race. There was mechanics toiling away and a rather concerned looking driver for that ex-Paul Belmondo Racing Team Viper, but they've got it onto the grid, that's the good news. Another car that there was a question mark over, number 76 Porsche, which was going to start on the 13th row, Jean-Loup Rion and Nick Padmore. That went off the road earlier on in the day. Mark Sumpter's Porsche, which had a big oil-induced spin, that's good to go. Mark was talking about the fact that something came adrift and put the oil down and around he went. I said it made good telly. He said he didn't feel it from inside the car particularly.
One benefit of having an air-cooled Porsche engine is that the capacity, the oil tank capacity, dry sump motor of course, it's a substantial amount of oil in the oil tank because the oil in effect acts as a liquid form of cooling along with the air cooling of the 993 motor. So for Mark it was a fortunate moment, and albeit a lot of oil went down and a number of people were caught out by it, but everything's good to go. 15-second
board displayed, and very shortly the formation lap will be underway. Like the 24 hours itself, it starts, or the grid is formed at least over at the Heritage pits, and then it will do that sort of celebratory lap round before the race gets underway for real. But there is just something, isn't there, about that shot, whether it's modern day cars or archive pictures with the traditional buildings from the pit lane towering over that part of the circuit.
David, the sun is shining. We're blessed right now with an absolutely stunning evening here at Spa, and it really shows the circuit, the whole. Look at the paddock. I've never ever seen the paddock at Spa so rammed. I mean, everywhere you look, you couldn't even get your bicycle into some of the spaces that are available as the field begins that slow process of rolling around to then make its way around to the chicane, and then that will be where the race will get underway. So the Penalties leads the way down, and what's that in the pit lane? The Porsche.
It is indeed. So there's one car that's going to start from the pits. I suspect that might be 76 as we look at the grid, that will have Olivier Galland and Sam Hancock on the front. Then it is going to be Peter Cox and Andrew Jordan on row 2. The third row would have been the Hesemanses. That's missing, but Evgeny Kirev is there with the Maserati number 14. Adrian Wilmot starts on row 4. Jonathan Mitchell lining up alongside him. Then you've got Stefan Reutmeier starting number 50, and alongside his Porsche should be Vasily Vladikin in the leopard liveried turquoise, almost Vitaphone turquoise and black Audi. Next, Nick Maton starts, Jack Tetley's Lamborghini alongside Nigel Greensall. Gregory Drio in the Bentley has Matthias Backer for company. Then Philippe Collinson's Ferrari and Yannick Tratvine's GT2 BMW ahead of Richard Mine's BMW and 22 of Sebastian Glazer, the Porsche. Philippe Skemama next, and then, as you see, Olivier Piquet's car in the pit lane and Marcus Graf van Oyenhausen alongside. Then there is going to be the Tetley and Maton Lamborghini ahead of Eric Mestag and Christophe Van Riet. Pierre Eret and Mike Jordan come next ahead of Jean-Loup Rion, assuming that car is there. Mike Jordan's got a question mark over it as well. That car wasn't good to go when I was last in the paddock. Jean-Loup Rion and alongside him Etienne Garouste Jr. ahead of Lee Maxted Page and Mark Sumpter. Then you've got Jason Wright with the ex-Hector Lesser, Alan Simonson Ferrari, and Nicholas Traber starts father's Porsche. Next up, Janos Santa, number 94, and Mark Davis in the dad and lad entry ahead of Paul McLean, who will go in number 35, and Xavier Galland next up ahead of Frederic Laurent and Alexander Linau. Albert Weinziel should be alongside Andre Zeidenhout, South African driver. Mark de Siebenthal starts number 12 Porsche before he gives it to Enrique Gempel. Olivier Piquet is going to start from the pits, as we have seen. Paul Phillips and hopefully Stephen Osborne next, although Osborne's car caught fire in qualifying. Heiko Osman and Stephen Keating's Marcos will complete the grid. Sadly, of course, one of the downsides of running old cars is they can be temperamental, so there are one or two that may not be quite as reliable nowadays as they were, but we will see as the field now works its way up towards the run now towards the start and finish area. Nico Verdonk, a man to watch also, the Belgian driver in the car initially entered for Stefan Rattel, the Lamborghini, but Stefan most definitely not driving it, so I've just walked past him and he was giving people a guided tour of the paddock.
I think he's got his hands full with
Yes, quite.
a lot of guests from all over the world coming to this event, the centenary event here at Spa-Francorchamps. Of course, the calendar for 25 was released also today, so that's going to generate a lot of interest from around the world also.
Absolutely right, as the field then sweeps through and getting themselves in the side-by-side formation then, ready for the start of the race. The car's in order. They will work their way up towards the timing line in a moment. And so into the chicane they come.
Low-end grunt of the Penalties should be enough to get it into turn one, La Source ahead of the field. Wait and see.
I would go along with that as a theory then, because certainly the way that he went in qualifying, Olivier Galland was getting faster and faster and faster. It's a great sounding car. And the first race of the weekend for the endurance racing legends will be go now. Lights change to green. Good getaway by Galland up the inside as well. Look, goes Peter Cox in the Lamborghini as he tries to sprint up the inside, gets to the braking zone for the corner, turns in. And as they accelerate their way out of the hairpin now, downhill for the first time. Good getaway, certainly, by the pole car of Olivier Galland. And you know that the Penalties is up front because the sound it makes absolutely shatters the sky. There it is with Sam Hancock in the Maserati in second place. Peter Cox third, Andrew Jordan fourth. And then it looks like Adrian Wilmot fifth as Nigel Greensill gets really brave round the outside in the other of those Corvettes. And he has managed to clear the traffic. Stefan Reutmeier behind him in the Porsche now.
Yeah, that was all a bit busy coming up over the top of radio, but the Corvette got it done. But the Porsche just drags itself ahead of the Corvette. That was maybe a little bit of a surprise. Peter Cox had a look down the inside going into La Source, but Sam Hancock it was a late entry, but he just didn't leave room, so Peter Cox anticipated that and fell back into the third place. Maserati in trouble, that's the 14.
As the Porsches sweep through then, and we'll see what progress Olivier Piquet can make up from the pit lane then. So downhill they drop for the first time. Sam Hancock is not letting Olivier Galland get away here, is he, as they come down towards us then for the first time. Peter Cox still there in that third place, fourth behind him. It is there Andrew Jordan. Next up Adrian Wilmot, there number 64 in one of those two 2009 Le Mans cars. And you can see now Sam Hancock looking for a way up past the Olivier Galland Penalties. He's going to have a go round the outside, and through goes Sam Hancock into the lead. That was brave on the outside where there was a little bit less grip. Has he done it? Has he cleared the Penalties? Yes, he has. He's ahead then as the cars now drop down towards the right of campus, and that therefore puts Sam Hancock into the lead despite all the grunt of that Penalties. Good move.
Well, I think Galland was probably being a little bit cautious on the opening lap, where Sam Hancock a lot more experience, and then he knows this Maserati inside out, so he was able to use that down at Fagnes, got through. Wait and see what happens once everybody gets up to pace and gets round this 7-kilometre Spa-Francorchamps circuit as the rest of the field threads its way up on the exit of Paul Frère-Courbe. A little bit of action, and Peter Cox has dropped a position.
Has indeed. Andrew Jordan goes by. And so as the cars now accelerate their way up towards the line, there's a yellow flag out in the middle sector. Sam Hancock leads at the end of lap one in the Maserati. Second, Olivier Galland. And that is the reason for the yellow. Evgeny Kirev's Maserati has come to a halt.
Yeah, I saw it coming up the straight, Kemmel straight. It was very, very slow, and it pulled over to the left. And regrettably, that's a car that could have been a challenger, certainly for a podium, is no longer in the event.
So yellows just to temper enthusiasm on the run up the hill. Got the cars making the run now over the ceremonial start area, but not the timing line, because that is all done from the F1 pits. That's where the timekeepers are based. And now the Penalties comes up on the inside. Sam Hancock gives Olivier Galland racing room, but he doesn't go by. Galland can't get that Dams run of the period. Penalties up past the Maserati MC12, at least not yet. Andrew Jordan third, hustling on behind them. Yeah,
I mean, for me, the Penalties is just working its way up to speed, where Sam Hancock was on it literally from the minute the cars filed through the exit of La Source and made the pass and midway through the first half of the lap.
Mike Jordan in the Flying Lizard Porsche also going nicely. There was a question mark over whether that was going to start, but it most definitely has. And Mike Jordan, who's raced Porsches, contemporary Porsches within the 24 hours going back 20 years or so, hustling on. He'll give way to Andrew, his son, for the second stint. 66 years of age, Mike Jordan, still racing, still winning, and still loving his motor racing as much as ever. Battle on for, oh, that's the Bentley going off the road. Gregory Drio at the wheel of the car, the CMR around Bentley, but he's off the road and back on again in that early iteration of the Bentley GT3, the original type of car, loses a place to the Ferrari, which is the car of Philippe Collinson that gets up on the inside and goes through. And
he's done a bit of grass cutting as well, so that's something you need to think about. Grass getting into the intakes for the radiator, for brakes, whatever, so he needs to keep an eye on his temperatures to ensure that that doesn't lead to an issue later in the race.
You've got Adrian Wilmot there hustling on behind Peter Cox.
There's a little bit missing on the left guard. There's a gap somewhere. There's been contact, whether it was in the start or whether it's from a contact earlier in some of the other sessions. But just get a glimpse of it. You can see on the left side there's something missing. Just, you see that bit just away? Well, it's missing anyway.
Okay, on which car? Sorry,
on the Corvette.
On the Corvette,
following,
right.
Following the Lambo, following Peter Cox.
Right, so Adrian Wilmot's car may have had a little
bit
of contact early on. He goes across the line. Let's see if we can have a look. 25 is the Peter Cox-driven car, and they're behind... Oh, yes, there is. You're quite right.
There's been a nibble.
A nibble. Good word. Adrian Wilmot then, and the Jordan team will get the invoice book ready to rebuild, see what they can do for tomorrow. Flash of the lights from Adrian Wilmot as they come down the hill, but Peter Cox ain't going to fall for that trick. He's been around the block too many times.
He certainly has, and whether the Corvette has got any more straight line performance than the Lamborghini, I would have thought they're probably fairly similar, but depends.
Can I offer you a thought about the damage to Adrian Wilmot's Corvette?
You certainly can.
Incident involving cars 14 and 64 is under investigation. So Maserati and Corvette are there. Up the inside goes Wilmot. He goes through. Damage or no, he's gained a place.
Yes, I mean, that was elbows out, obviously, in the opening lap. Up probably somewhere, maybe through Radillon and then, or into the top of the circuit as they drop down. And Peter Cox will not be overly happy with that. He might find, yeah, it's about time I got my head down and started pushing.
So yes, he's lost a place to Andrew Jordan, lost a place to Adrian Wilmot. Jordan actually is going after the top two, isn't he? He's catching Gallant. I don't think Peter Cox necessarily is going to come back at Wilmot, although he is shadowing him every inch of the way down towards Pouhon. Behind them, big busy track there. Richard Mines, we've got Mike Jordan in the middle of all of that as well. There's Mark Sumter's Porsche in the right direction this time. To the inside line, look, comes Eric Mestag's Viper in the background to try to get past Mike Jordan. Philippe Skimama's Ford GT in the middle of all of that as well, and a brilliant little battle going on. BMW, Ford, Porsche, Chrysler. What else have we got?
Well, all I know, you've got to keep one eye ahead of you and the other eye and any one of the three mirrors you may have to ensure that, I mean, I moved down the inside from the Viper into Bruxelles, was looking like it was on, but Mike Jordan covered it. He didn't leave any room for the Viper to make that pass, but again, you can see the pace of the Viper coming up behind the Porsche. It's got a lot more horsepower. Whether its handling will match that of Mike Jordan and the Flying Lizards Porsche, one of the most iconic Porsches that raced in America in that GT category over many seasons.
And the restoration of that car, that livery, a real credit to JRT. Richard Mines then under attack. Philippe Skimama looking for a way by. Eric Messag in the Viper on the back of Mike Jordan's Porsche as they come up now towards the Cours Paul Frere. And behind them, you've got another little fight building up nicely because Matthijs Bakker and Pierre Arret are next in the queue.
So Mike Jordan was thinking about making a move up alongside the Ford, but that was covered again on the first part of Blanchimont. Now, has he got enough straight line performance to have a go at the Ford GT coming up the hill? The Viper goes one way, Mike Jordan cuts back the other way to make the undercut into the braking zone, and again, well, a little kiss, little light, gentle nudge in the right rear quarter of the Ford GT, but no damage and no problems.
Mike Jordan was a winner, as he has been on multiple occasions, a previous champion in Mini 7 racing at Thruxton the other week, but this is a very different way of going motor racing. It's not all about the toe and the draft. Almost three wide up towards La Source as Mike Jordan tries to get up the inside of the GT, but he can't quite do it into the corner. He can coming out.
Oh yeah, no, he got it done. He held that tight line. Oh, Mike Jordan catches the wall on the run down, and he's lost a place to the Ford GT as a consequence.
He was trying to get past Richard Mines in the BMW, and all of a sudden he ran out of road, so he skims the concrete. The Porsche carries on, but that glorious paint scheme on the right-hand side is now a little bit battle-scarred.
Insurance claim, insurance claim. Well, some of these cars are insured. And again, another of the Vipers gets the benefit of all that. Look at it steaming up alongside. So Mike Jordan goes again, tries to find a way around the Ford GT up until Lecum, can't get it done.
And
the process loses out to the Viper.
Yeah, Matthijs Bakker at the wheel of that car, goes around the outside, so one up and one back. Bakker there is doing a good job because he's cleared Eric Mestag's car. That's Pierre Arret, who is ahead of Mark Sumpter now. So this very, very busy battle pack coming down towards the right-hander at Bruxelles. And Richard Mines being able to fend them all off, so he's got them all squabbling behind him, but for the moment at least, he is still there, keeping that place.
Well, the BM's got a lot of, that's the V8, I believe.
I think so, yeah.
It's got a lot of straight line grunt. And the one that really was the biggest challenger was Mike Jordan, but he got sort of wrong-footed coming down from La Source and then was just swamped by the Viper. So let's look again and see whether Mines can hold off the GT40 or the Ford GT.
So there Richard Mines goes through Pith Path. Let's have another look at what happened to Mike Jordan. So he gets up the inside. He's almost level with Richard Mines, but here the road narrows.
Well, Richard Mines, I don't think, was aware that Mike Jordan was in that sort of third quarter. Couldn't maybe see him, and he just moved across on top of Mike Jordan, and Mike was left with nowhere to go but hit concrete or hit the BMW.
However, undaunted, he presses on, chasing after Matthijs Bakker. And there is a warning flag being offered up to number 185, Gregory Drio, for track limit offences.
I assume that comes after running wide at Jackie Eakes or Busman's or whatever it is.
Right, Richard Mines under attack, down towards the bus stop chicane. The calm up the inside and through goes then the Ford. Almost contact between the two, but the place taken then by Philippe Scamama. Up he goes, round the outside of Richard Mines now. Look, goes Matthijs Bakker. Mike Jordan's got up the inside and gained a place as well. Eric Mestag in the yellow and blue Viper comes into the mix, down towards La Source. Mike Jordan looks across. The older Porsche goes ahead of the BMW. Pierre Arret goes around the outside in the Ferrari. All of a sudden, Richard Mines is being given a bit of a work over here. To the inside line looks Eric Mestag, and then he thinks better of it and tucks back in behind.
Yeah, so look at the ground that Mike Jordan has made in the Porsche. The BMW's got trapped now behind the Ferrari, so its race in terms of going forward is just about where it is. Can Mike Jordan move ahead of the Ferrari? It looks like the Ferrari could be the quicker of the two cars in a straight line.
And Mark Sumpter in the older Porsche there, the 911 GT2 from the 993 era. That car going nicely as well, joining into the back of that queue. Right, Matthijs Bakker has cleared all of that traffic now as he dives up towards Le Combe this time around. Richard Mines having fallen back. Eric Mestag has fallen back as well in the Viper. So for the moment, calm descend, but I don't think it's going to last for very long, as now Pierre Arret comes up to have a go at Johannes van Overbeek, masquerading as Mike Jordan. Good Audi battle there. Marcus van Oernhausen just ahead of Vasily Vladikin in the turquoise and black Audi.
That's 15th and 16th position battle.
Okay.
So a little bit further down the field, so there is a lot of racing going on all the way down to the tail of this field.
The red Audi of Marcus van Oernhausen, the car that was third at Spa in 2017, Andre Lotterer, Christopher Mies, Frank Stippler, the drivers, and then behind it you've got the ex-Rosberg team car, owned these days by Johnny Westbrook, but run in WRT colours. Vincent Voss has given permission, even though it wasn't a WRT run car, he's happy for that paint scheme to go on it. Johnny, who owns the car, runs it, says it was just for him the ultimate Audi R8 livery. That's Andrew Jordan third, going after Olivier Galland. Sam Hancock, the race leader, has done the fastest lap of the race, and now we are looking at the back markers.
And where is Sam Hancock? He's not even in vision as the rest of the field comes up into Le Combe. So Sam has done an excellent job and used all the strengths. Both of them, round the outside, so that back marker being lapped. So the Maserati has just powered ahead of the rest of the field. I thought maybe with the pace the Panos showed this morning that it might be able to challenge a more strong battle than we've maybe seen. There is Sam Hancock, almost halfway down to Pouhon. There is the Panos coming out of corner Jackie Eakes or bus stop or what is it called?
Speaker's Corner.
Speaker's Corner.
Yeah.
It hasn't actually got a formal name.
I think it's been called the Jackie Eakes Corner of late, yeah. It used to be Speaker's Corner because from the old speaker's room, the old commentary box, that was the only other corner you could see in the distance. So that's why the commentary team of the track adopted it. 24 there, Nick Maton at the wheel of the Jack Tetley-owned Lamborghini, the GT3 equivalent in terms of the colour scheme of the GT1 era cars that you've been looking at further up the grid. That had a mechanical woe in the qualifying session, but Nick Maton at the wheel of it now, chasing after 22 Porsche, which is the solo entry of Sebastian Glazer.
And that is the Gallardo version of the Lamborghini, the Huracan, which is the current GT3 RS or GT3 version, is just looking at the two cars, imagining the current car and the Gallardo, night and day difference. Oh, is that? Oh, that was. I'm not again sure whether that was a pass that was anticipated by one or other of the two drivers.
Well, Nick Maton got it done, didn't he? Goes through, and the number 24 Lamborghini therefore gains 1 spot, and that puts it up into 11th place. Jack Tetley, who has made a bit of a name for himself in big, hairy cars over the last few years, he will go second there. Philippe Collinson's Ferrari starting to close up now, number 17, the for 5/8 in 2010.
I mean, a car like that should actually be able to outperform the Porsche. It's just a more current car, and has got a lot more natural pace.
So through they come with number 17, Philippe Collinson, chasing on. The drone shows the run into the chicane. And another great line of cars. Now, we are not that far away from the pit window opening, so the teams are going to be on the toes. Over the timing line they go. There is 1, 2, 4. That's Nico Verdonk at the wheel, and he's on the back of Stefan Reutmeier, so it's another Porsche-Lambo fight here.
Straight line performance of the Porsche is more than adequate to handle the Lamborghini. Quickest part of the racetrack up the hill. The Carmel straight into Les Combes, a big break. Drivers were mentioning, not just in these historic category, but across the field, that with the resurfacing that has taken place over the early part of this year at Spa-Francorchamps, the very black bits of the racetrack haven't got the benefit of maybe the braking lines that would be on the older part of the racetrack, and drivers are sort of having to find other reference points around the circuit where there is new tarmac, and up into Les Combes is one of those places.
The race leader, Sam Hancock, closing on the traffic. The Jean-Louis Rion, Nick Padmore Porsche, I think, is going to be the first car that he comes across as you look at this battle for 7th place, heading out of Pouhon towards Pif Paf. And there, Sam Hancock down towards the chicane. He's got himself, the pit window is now open, up past the Porsche.
That was a bit of a struggle to get the car rotating on the exit, and you can see Sam's hands going one way and the other to keep the car in check. But he's pulled out, I can't even read it on the timing and scoring, the sun's blocking it out. How many seconds has he got ahead?
Sam Hancock is now 7 seconds.
Okay, he's got half the pit straight ahead of the Panos. There's the Panos just exiting as we go back further around the racetrack to this battle, or a battle, with the Ferrari and the Porsche down into Campos Corner.
And that's changed, hasn't it? Collinson's got ahead of Glazer since the start of the lap there, so the Ferrari moves ahead. But as you were making the point, it's a much younger car. Aston Martin for the pit lane. 94 it is, and that means that Janos Santa, the Hungarian driver, will stay in the car.
Just having a refreshing drink. If you're not a regular, what I would call professional race driver, and the Viper in likewise, other cars making their way back down to the other pits, one of the things you tend to do is you can get sort of a bit breathless, and as a consequence you start breathing through your mouth, which then leads to your mouth getting as dry as a bone, and you can't, you basically get no saliva in your mouth. So when you come in and make a pit stop and you've got that water there or whatever is in the drinks bottle just to refresh you, it doesn't have to make life a lot more pleasant.
Eric Mestag out of his Viper. And Andrew Jordan in early to give way to the owner, Matt Holm, because Andrew is on Porsche duty next. He's got to get on board Dad's Porsche. Tough life, isn't it?
Well, versatility is, I mean, the Jordan family are so, I mean, whatever they drive, first of all, they're extremely competitive, but it's their enthusiasm for what their core business is. As we talk about cores, there's the Marcus running around, and, well, it's just about being overtaken by the field, running towards the tail of the field. Looking further down, Lee Maxted Page and his Porsche currently in 25th position, just one behind Mark Sumpner, who is an acknowledged Porsche racer. Lee Maxted Page is doing a lot of racing in the 2-litre Porsche One Make series, which is a fantastic series, on old Dunlop R7 tyres, and the cars But a lot of sideways movement. Anyway, we're not at a Porsche 2-litre event.
Andrew Jordan heads to the pit wall to go and find out how the old man's doing. And there, Richard Mines, who's fallen back now behind Pierre Eret. So 19th and 20th, those cars. Down through Bruxelles, turns Philippe Gamama. Strange, isn't it, to think that some of the cars that we're looking at are now in notional historic racing. It doesn't seem that long ago that they were cutting-edge GT machines.
Yeah, David, what's even more worrying, I was certainly commentating, and you probably were as well, when these were the current cars of the day.
Absolutely.
Where does that put us?
With our Horlicks, I think, and a rug for our knees. Richard Mines then came from road saloons through saloon car racing, but has really specialised in historics. He charges on as Sam Hancock brings the delectable Maserati into the pits. And if you think the cars are good, you go to the paddock, and all the Vitaphone trucks are there. The team that were running the cars, many of the mechanics in Imperial, they're still there, still with all the nous and the knowledge of how to operate these MC12s. And Sam Hancock then is about to give way to Alexander Rittweger, who is the owner of the car.
So Sam Hancock's done the job he was brought in to do. He's brought that car in the lead, had a momentary challenge from the Panos in the opening lap, but he soon dealt with that and has been able to drive away from the rest of the field, and will hand the car over to the owner in a very comfortable position. So what will happen in the second half of the race? It's a 40-minute race, so a lot to play for. And I did mention Peter Cox, who's not really featured, although he's running in third place, but he's going to stay on board. So a lot of continuity with the 125 Lamborghini.
So there, the next round of pit stops underway as the cars make their way down the F1 pits. There in the background, Sam Hancock, who's done, as you would expect, an excellent stint. Sam not only drives these cars very well, but he understands and appreciates the history of the sport.
And undoubtedly, in some periodical somewhere in the UK, we'll get the full inside story about how I took the lead into, I forget where it was on the circuit he took the lead. But anyway, Panos has taken over the lead as a consequence of the Maserati making its stop. And is gallant.
It's not coming in yet.
No.
Now, one or two cars are under investigation for a pit entry infringement, which rather makes me think they've only used the endurance pits, not the combined. So, one car that's under investigation is 55, Andre Bezuidenhout's Porsche, for a pit entry infringement.
I wonder what that could be.
Well, not doing the whole pit lane.
Ah.
So you instead of coming through the F1 pits, he's just come out of the source and pitted, I would suspect.
Oh, okay, well that's a definite no-no.
Right, come on, Dad, out you get, says Andrew. Mike Jordan clambers out. Notice the crash helmet design with the dummy goggles and the strap, top of the open face helmet. As befits a good historic racer, there you can just see in the background the goggles painted on the top of the crash helmet.
How much quicker per lap is Andrew over Mike? Would you say it's up to a second?
I wouldn't answer that question.
Would you not like to make a comment or a commitment on that, David?
I would say Andrew is the faster of the two these days, but I'm not putting a number on it.
I think I would agree with you.
Yeah.
But you're not prepared to say a second or two or three? Probably maybe 2/3 of a second. That's being very kind.
We'll find out, because the best lap that Mike Jordan has done in that car is a 2:27.9.
That's a very good lap.
Yep, absolutely.
So the Maserati is rolling and makes its way up this very extended pit lane exit road, which filters the cars in just after the crest at Radion. And by the time you get there, you're traveling pretty quickly, so you're not having a slow car rejoining the circuit at a hypercritical point on the Carmel Straight.
Now, we understand there's a car up at Les Combes, and 103 is shown on our track map as not moving. So I think the car that started in the pit lane, Olivier Piquet's car, has retired up at the top of the hill. So 103 Porsche, sadly looks like it's a retirement. That just whets your appetite for pit stops for tomorrow's 24 hours, doesn't it?
Well, we're going to get a lot of those. And if it's going to be a weather-dominated race, dread to think how busy the pit lane's going to be.
So the pit stops all done to a regulation time. Philippe Collinson's Ferrari, a 1-minute time penalty for speeding in the pit lane.
Panos is in.
Panos, yeah. So that is the Olivier Gallant Panos in after a gallant effort in that first stint.
I'm glad you said that.
Really?
I think
you don't look very glad.
I think that was worthy of you, David.
Down towards the source it comes, and this is about the quietest of Penalties is ever going to be. The drone chasing after it.
Actually, probably the drone could overtake it because there's a 50-kilometre speed limit in the pit lane. The drone's capable of doing much more than that.
Have a quick look down at the WRT hospitality area. There is how you're meant to do the pit lane, through the F1 pits, down the endurance pits. The Penalties growls its way in. It is a very, very long pit lane, but it has to be so for using both elements of the pits here. Put the two together. So there, the Penalties in, goes past the Ford.
So we need to now see how quick, if there is these pit stops of a time on them, whether the Maserati will regain the lead.
Yeah, and what pace Alexander Rittweger has relative to Olivier Galland, who will stay in that car.
Well, in that case, you have to think, I mean, I'm only just thinking off the top of my head that that favours, well, there is the Maserati coming around now, so that's a done deal.
Yeah.
So the Maserati's going to take the lead. The Penalties has basically just come to a standstill, and the Maserati's going through, so they will have an extremely comfortable lead. Just doing a quick pressure check on the rear tyre. The support crew for all these teams out on the pit wall, as the Penalties still stationary. And I mean, it's going to end up going back on the track probably the best part of a minute behind the lead Maserati if they don't see the car getting back on track imminently. So the Corvette comes in. Bosch. So it stops on its marks. Driver change is about to take place, and we got a stopper, David.
We have. That's the Vasily Vladik and Andres Solokovsky Audi. Andrei Solokovsev at the wheel of it. Stalled and got going again. Did he have a moment at Le Con, maybe?
Don't know. We never just saw the car static. So the rumble of the Penalties. The crew chief just saying, wait, wait, wait. I'll tell you when you can go.
The Audi, we understand, just came to a halt, got going again. So
no, just wait, wait, wait. Okay, impatient driver, Olivier Galland. So
aren't all racing drivers impatient?
Well, I am certainly going to Waitrose car park in Oxford. Believe me,
not just
I race the barriers every time I get there.
So Olivier Galland, rather, is about to be released over that white line, accelerate up the hill. So at the end of this next lap, we can start to piece together the order after the pit stops. Lamborghini coming back out as well. There is the Flying Lizard Porsche after its stop. I think everybody has now pitted, so Andrew Jordan's at the wheel of that car. There going through is Alexander Rittweger in the Maserati.
I mean, the lead he's got is almost half a lap now, because the Penalties was just heading up to Les Combes. Peter Cox is showing in second place, and he's yet to make his pit stop, I understand.
No, I think he's been in.
Has he been in?
Everyone's shown as having made the pit stop now.
Did we see Peter Cox in the... Yeah, don't remember. Anyway.
That was Nigel Greenstall's Corvette giving way to John Emberson. There, the Macau liveried Aston Martin that's now in the hands of Stefan Jocha. Blue flag busily waved as away blasts John Emberson. Yellow out in the middle sector as that 103 Porsche going no further. Nigel Greenstall having given the car over.
Wonder if that yellow for the Audi we saw stopping up at Les Combes, if it stopped there, it's probably going to stop somewhere else around the lap to try and get back into the pit lane.
Sam Hancock and Alexander Rittweger's Maserati has been given a 1-minute penalty for speeding in the pit lane. Whether that was on the way in or out, can't tell you, but it's got a penalty. And it's all happening up at Les Combes. There is Alexander Rittweger's Maserati on the
big
inside.
lock-up.
Oh dear, oh dear.
Wow. Well, that'll give a nice couple of flat spots in the front tires. The steering will vibrate. If it's bad, it'll be almost undrivable.
Yeah.
Well, a minute penalty almost negates any other issues with the flat-spotted tire. So was that on the way into the pit lane or on the exit?
Well, there was more on the way in, wasn't there, than the way out. So
that would be my view.
Yeah. Sam, you may have a case to answer, but we'll wait and see.
Delete the article on the periodical.
Yes, quite. The timing and scoring will confirm either way. So there, now looking in a very strong place, is Olivier Gallant's Panos that leads the way, comes up to the traffic ahead. There is Andrew Jordan. Behind Andrew Jordan is Mark Sumter. Behind Mark Sumter on the lead lap is Peter Cox, their number 125. So the gap is 7.6 seconds, Gallant to Cox. That's the lead battle. And Peter Cox on a mission, no question about it.
Well, he's had the benefit, as has Gallant for that matter, of staying behind the wheel, so he knows precisely what to expect from the Lamborghini. Oh, a little wobble there from the Lamborghini just after the apex at Eau Rouge, but so much experience from Peter Cox. He just take it on the chin, as they say. So the lead Panos goes into Les Cumwave, yellow flags.
Full course yellow, that's why. So full course yellow for our first GT Legends race. Everybody will slow. Everybody must obey that speed limit, and it is the Audi, I'm afraid. You were right. Well, I mean, I'd say that it's a given, isn't it, that you're right, John?
Of course.
And poor old Andrei Solokhotsev, who was parachuted in last minute, Michael Laboda, who was entered for that car, not here, but it's out of the way, or hopefully will be out of the way shortly.
So the corner workers, the crew, the snatch crew, let's call them that, that's the nicer term, will get that car removed as quickly as possible, and I don't know if there's any need for that vehicle. Sometimes they pull a vehicle, a recovery vehicle, up behind the car that's being recovered in the event that somebody doesn't respect those wave yellow flags or full course yellow and comes around a corner and gets himself into difficulties.
So the field pouring over the line. Now, something might have fallen another car because, again, our track map would suggest that number 76 Porsche, the Jean-Louis Rion Nick Padmore car, wasn't moving. Oh, it's now gone across the line, so perhaps it was just very slow under the full course yellow, but it is still
back to green.
And we are back to green, and that gives Gallant the chance to press on now with Peter Cox chasing on behind him. We'll see how many back markers he's got to pick away by. 1, 2 at least.
Yeah, well, it is 2, so that'll take him a little time. Depends much as where you catch them as actually catching them in the first place. And while overtaking around Spa-Francorchamps is relatively straightforward. And, wow, look at that. So, has Peter Cox just overtaken, or is he being challenged? He was. There's a Porsche directly behind him.
That's Andrew Jordan, isn't it? So Andrew is no respecter of reputation, and hustling on in the Flying Lizard Porsche. It's an older car than the Lamborghini, but that doesn't faze Andrew Jordan at all. Up to the line, Olivier Gallant leading the race then. Look at that Blancpain liveried Lamborghini in the background that comes up to find a way past, I think, Lee Maxted Page's IMSA Porsche. Through on the inside goes Peter Cox, and then behind, Adrian Wilmot in the yellow Corvette, running in 3rd place, and very much in the mix, isn't he?
Yeah. So now Peter Cox has cleared that group of cars. He can focus on the tail of the Lamborghini. What's the time? I can't read the timing and scoring because the light's killing in here. It's 3.4 seconds. So he's brought that down from 7 seconds. And that part, no doubt, because of the full course yellow.
So Peter Cox chases on. There's the Panos. He's got to clear that Bentley, hasn't he? The Gregory Drio-driven car before he can think about a proper attack. Very busy racetrack. Adrian Wilmot there. That's the 3rd placed car, Corvette number 64.
And they put a bit of tape, yellow tape on that, so that nibble on that left front wing, you can see that the team in the course of the pit stop wanted to make a running repair to ensure that the bodywork doesn't deteriorate any further.
Whereas the Jordan family Porsche, the Flying Lizard car that grazed the concrete, that's carried on undaunted. Adrian Wilmot downhill. So where do we go next to see Adrian Wilmot versus Peter Cox? Maybe, see what he can do about that gap.
So there is effectively the battle for the lead. So the Panos leads, and now again the Corvette. So there's going to be a 3-way battle before this race concludes, because the Corvette probably right now is running the quickest of these 3 cars as Peter Cox comes out of Fagnes. Corvette follows, and Yes, so Wilmot need to keep an eye. How much time have we got left?
We've got 6.5 minutes.
Oh, okay. It's going to be a big task to catch Peter Cox, and Peter Cox has got a handful to try and run down the lead. Panos.
But he's going the right way about it. The last lap was considerably quicker by about 4 seconds.
From Peter Cox.
Yeah.
That's a big... Yeah, well, I mean, what's the gap when they come across the line? We have to wait and see. It's probably going to be around, what, 4.5, 5 seconds.
But I think that was really Peter benefiting with when he got back on the gas after the full course yellow. This lap, he's only a 10th quicker in one sector. So there's the Penalties. Peter Cox in the background. The Dutch driver goes through, and the margin is 5 seconds. It's gone back up, in fact, advantage Penalties on that lap. If anything, Peter Cox now has to think about hanging on to second place, doesn't he?
So Wilmot's times, look, he's taking about fractions of a second out of Peter Cox. Not enough to worry Peter Cox, and his focus is going to be, what can I do to get on terms with the lead Penalties, which is out of sight as they go through the kink onto the Kemmel Straight. So I think the Penalties has responded now that we've got, and again, you can see the gap actually seems, visually is extended. He's used the traffic really well coming up into Lake Coombe, and Peter Cox will have to deal with that. And depends again on which part of the circuit, and he's going to be under threat from the 64 Corvette, I suspect, before we get to the conclusion.
Right, there is an ex-Stefan Rattel Porsche going through, and behind it the ex-Darrell Young Aston Martin in its Macau colours, Alexander Linau and Stefan Jocher's car. And 86, that is now in the hands of Josh Kreuger. Behind is the John Emberson, and then behind that Corvette, Marcus van Oeynhausen's Audi, and van Oeynhausen 10th at the start of the lap, still pushing on. His target is the White Viper of Kreuger ahead, not John Emberson's Corvette, he's going to get around the outside of, right there.
Yeah, fairly straightforward overtake. The Audi, pretty good car around here in period, and pretty good car around here in this event.
And we have had Corvettes winning outright in the days of their competitiveness in FIA GT before GT3 came along. Peter Cox, 1.2 seconds up. There he is on Adrian Wilmot. There he is. So the Grunt and Go Chevrolet is now ahead of the Lamborghini. Peter Cox has a problem. It slows down, look, coming out of the Cours Paul Frere, and the Lamborghini has got a problem. Peter Cox is limping back.
I'm not sure whether that's a tyre. Is that the left rear tyre? It's difficult to tell. Certainly he's a very quick get off the gas on that one, so he knows there's a major problem. Yeah, that's a great shame. We thought that might have been a battle to the flag with the Lamborghini and the Penalties, but not to be. So just trying to look around the car to see whether it is a tyre. No, it doesn't.
Looks
look
all
like
right, doesn't it?
Looks fine. So something more serious, obviously, for Peter Cox. He can't deal with it with the time remaining.
So that Reiter run car from the period comes to the pit lane. There's also a penalty for the Michael Vervin Stefan Reutmeier Porsche. Stefan Reutmeier started it, but that was short on the pit stop, so it's being given a penalty. So Olivier Galland now leads from Adrian Wilmot. It's all a bit American. Penalties ahead of Chevrolet. The Corvette chasing as they head up the hill. The gap 6.9 seconds over the timing line. There's a lot of traffic as well for Adrian to get through, and still hovering around 6.9. He's actually lost a bit in the traffic on this lap. Yeah.
As they say, you can't beat cubic inches, and this is a circuit. It's an aerodynamic circuit, but also it's a power circuit. And just the sheer grunt of both Chevrolet and in the case of the, it's what engines in the Penalties? Is it Chevrolet also? Ford or Chevrolet?
I had a feeling it was Ford.
Okay.
But that was a long time ago that car came out. Brain's gone.
In the meantime, Wilmot still is cleared that group of cars, but running out of time. Just a look at that Porsche. I mean, that was a proper race car 25, 30 years ago. Looks minute. And
the BMW looking as though it's escaped from a touring car grid, but it was a genuine GT2 car. That's the ex-Uwe Altzen, Jörg Müller, Augusto Farfus entry, owned these days by Yannick Trautwein. And as he comes up towards the line, Trautwein is 7th overall and leading the GT2C class. A car from not just GT2 at Le Mans, but also Nürburgring 24 Hours car. Goes over the timing line. You can see the ADAC's Uric number panels on the side of the car. Flicks now through a rouge. That's the lead car, the Penalties. And I think, in fairness now, with a minute and a half to go, one more lap, Olivier Galland has enough in hand. He can afford to back this off a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, you could see the Corvette just coming out of Blanchimont while the Penalties was going into the chicane, so it would take something of an extraordinary, unexpected effect to not see the Penalties take the checkered flag. But you have to wonder what would have happened to the number 2 Maserati had there not been a pit lane infringement, probably speeding in the pit lane, because that was really, that was a shoe-in for victory for sure.
And that car is now down in 6th place, so disappointment for Sam Hancock and Alexander Rittweger, but that car falls away. Another penalty, as you see Adrian Wilmot storming through the traffic. I've got a horrible feeling it's going the way of the Jordans. It is. Andrew Jordan and Mike Jordan have got an 18-second time penalty for a minimum pit stop time infringement.
Was that both got it or just one?
Well, they're showing the car, so it goes to the car.
I know, but it was father and son, obviously. Both got it. Both drivers got penalties.
Well, no, the car gets the penalty.
Yeah.
So
you're talking about the same. Which car are you talking about? The Porsche.
Olivier Galland coming downhill, and Adrian Wilmot getting a little bit closer. It's the last lap, so as they accelerate their way out of Speaker's Corner, Adrian Wilmot is an awful lot closer to that Penalties than he was. So into Pouhon. Adrian Wilmot has not given up his quest here. I still think Gallant's probably okay, but Adrian Wilmot, the closer he gets, the more enthused he is.
By the corner he's closing. I mean, literally the pace is suddenly dramatic. And okay, we've now at the lowest point in the, well, virtually the lowest point of the circuit, getting through Fagnes. Then the run through Campos and then Paul Frère-Courbe. That's the sort of the power bit of the circuit on the return up to the pit lane.
2.5 seconds that gap has come down to from very nearly 6 seconds at the timing line, but I think Olivier Galland might just have a bit more in the tank to be able to respond if he needs to, but it's going to be touch and go this. Adrian Wilmot closing all the way through Blanchimont, and he's going to have a go, is he? Olivier Galland has nothing left to respond here. He's just got to block like mad. To the outside line comes Adrian Wilmot, but he's going to do it. He's going to clear him before the chicane, and Olivier Galland's car just has no fight in it, like it's low on fuel or something.
Well, I don't know. Whatever it is, suddenly the car lost massive amount of pace. Checkered flag's out.
Adrian Wilmot wins the first race of the weekend for the endurance racing legends then. So the only time he led was at the end of the last lap, but that's when it counts.
And it does. I mean, you have to think, is that running on fumes or is there still fuel in the tank?
Well, Olivier Galland looking down as though he's looking to try and work out what the problem is.
Well, I suspect he's going to enter the pit lane. Oh, that's just, it's just, it's almost coming to a standstill in the middle of La Source.
This is gravity, I think, that's taking him down the hill, isn't it? Nothing else. Well, an interesting race. Lots happening.
Yeah. I mean, it's to see these old cars competing, you know, a variety of ages competing against another group of cars. Some of the older cars still able to, you know, show them how to do it.
Mark Sumter over the line, and he finishes 19th. It might need to wait a moment or two for all the penalties to be applied here, with the Jordans getting one. Another penalty went the way of Matthias Bakker with the Viper shared with Josh Kreuger. That also got a penalty. So that all has to be factored in. And sadly, we've lost a few more cars over the course of that race, with another 5 or 6 not getting to the end, but hopefully they can be made good for tomorrow. That's one of the sadnesses about this. You start with a great entry, and then over the course of practice and qualifying, you start to lose 1 or 2, but I'm sure the teams will be hard at work.
Well, they've got a period of, well, they've got this evening to get stuck in. Of course, these cars are from an era where reliability, mechanical reliability, amongst other things, was not at the level that we have in 2024. And that applies to every form of motorsport.
Yeah.
That's one of the remarkable elements that we're now having to contend with. Is the level of reliability is just phenomenal.
And you don't just need a toolkit, you need a computer degree as well, don't you? Because so much of it now is to do with the electrics and
so
the like.
Virtually all fly-by-wire in one form or another.
So the drivers making their way back to the Peter Auto, the event organisers' paddock. Great shot from the drone there at the end of the old pit lane. Turn right, and a big crowd was thronging around these cars as they were being fired up before the race, and there's just as much enthusiasm as they come back at the end. Through the petrol station, turn left, and then back to their paddock. So we have Adrian Wilmot as the provisional race winner from Olivier Galland, and then in the end, rather unnoticed, Jonathan Mitchell with his Ferrari got up into third place. He was some way back, but a good result. Nico Verdonk fourth, and then Yannick Trautwein's BMW was fifth, with, on the road, 86 of Josh Kruger and Matthias Bakker sixth, but that was one that copped a 3-second time penalty, so I don't think that's going to affect it much. Seventh, Marcus van Neuenhausen with Audi number 6 ahead of Christian Glazer. Matt Holm dropped to 9th in the end with Andrew Jordan, and John Emberson dropped to 10th with Nigel Greensall. All the cars in their little shelters, so all the teams' tracks out of the way, and there the car park is going to fill up as the mechanics will be called on in a moment to get the cars back in the appropriate place. Let's have a look then at the results of our first Endurance Racing Legends event of the weekend. Adrian Wilmot, the winner on that last lap from Olivier Galland. Jonathan Mitchell third from Nico Verdonk, and then Yannick Trautwein winning his class ahead of Matthias Bakker and Josh Kruger. Marcus van Neuenhausen seventh from Stefan Glazer. Andy Jordan and Matt Holm ninth from John Emberson and Nigel Greensall, and Jack Tetley and Nick Maton's Lamborghini 11th. Philip Skimama 12th from Pierre Eret, and then Lee Maxton Page with the Michael Ferveny Stefan Reutemeyer Porsche 15th. Mark Sumter next. The penalised Jordan family car was in 17th place. 18th, Andre Weinzierl from the Devis family, and 20th was Gregory Drio in the Bentley. And you can see, sadly, quite a few that didn't finish, including in the end Hancock and...
Yeah, we didn't see a reason why. We didn't see
no.
it come into the pits. We didn't see it stopped around the circuit, but two did a DFN, so that's a disappointment indeed.
So a little bit of work for the teams to do overnight, but they've got a bit of time, not much, in as much as we have the race starting at 2:15. So they have got some time to work on the cars. One or two still being towed back. Let's just have a look at some of the best bits of that race that began with Olivier Galland in the lead in the Penalties, but it wasn't long before Sam Hancock in the number 2 Maserati was on his toes and looking for a way by. The field streaming its way up through the Raidillon run for the first time. Porsches taking on Corvettes, Audis taking on Bentleys. Sam Hancock put himself into the lead. Gregory Drio ran out of road at Speaker's Corner, missed everything solid, kicked up a whole heap of dust, as we then had Mike Jordan being crowded towards the pit wall as he made the run down towards Eau Rouge. The Porsche, a solid car, bounced off the concrete, kept going, but he did lose out to the Ford GT of Philip Skimama, which then got up past Richard Mine's BMW. Mike Jordan sitting on the tail as the pit window opened, and the Penalties of Olivier Galland came in. The car he was chasing, the Maserati, first had a penalty for being too quick in the pit lane, then had a big lock-up and scrabble round the corner. As further back in the queue, Adrian Wilmot was charging. He was catching Peter Cox, and when the Lamborghini had a problem, the next target was the Penalties, and that looked too far up the road. But a last lap drama for Olivier Galland slowed the car, not quite to a crawl, but there was nothing he could do to fend off Adrian Wilmot, who would come through in that 2009 Le Mans Corvette to win outright after a great drive. Adrian Wilmot's winning margin, 2.3 seconds. So looking down from the drone, there you can see a very busy Spa, and still the sun shines, despite the fact everybody will tell you that it always rains at Spa. Not this weekend. Not a drop has fallen, but it might be in the system, might be ready to come over the course of race weekend. Let's wait and see. Busy day tomorrow with the support races in the morning, the historic races just in the early afternoon before the build-up to the 24 hours itself. So, thanks for your company and your nostalgic accompaniment for this race. More of the same tomorrow, but for now, from John Watson and David Addison, goodbye.